Readings of Almighty God's words on the pursuit of the truth. How to pursue the truth. 14. As regards family conditioning, apart from the thoughts and viewpoints we've mentioned, is there anything else? Please summarize. There are many things that come from family, and in China, people call this dining table culture. For example, at the dining table, a child might say, "Our class monitor, that girl with the 3 stripes on her sleeve, always checks my homework and says I haven't finished it, even though I have. She's always picking on me." The parents might respond, "You're a boy and she's a girl. Why are you bothering about her? Focus on your studies and make your mother proud. When you become the class monitor, you can check her homework, and that will settle things, won't it?" Upon hearing this, the child might think, "That makes sense. I'm a boy, and even if she's the class monitor, she's still a girl. I shouldn't bother with her. If she starts bothering me again, I'll just ignore her, and that will be the end of it. The more she bothers me, the harder I'll study. I'll surpass her, and in the next term, I'll become the class monitor and be in charge of her. That should settle things." This is an example of dining table culture. At the dining table, if a boy starts to cry, parents might say, "Hold it in. Why are you crying? Good for nothing." Does crying mean that you're good for nothing? Does that mean people who don't cry are promising? Is every boy who has never cried an individual who is promising? Take a look at those up-and-coming people. Did they or did they not cry and shed tears when they were young? Did they have emotions? Did they experience joy, anger, grief, and happiness? They experienced all of these. Regardless of whether someone is a prominent figure or an ordinary person, everyone has a side of human fragility or human instinct. Due to parental education and social background, people often perceive this side as weak, cowardly, incompetent, or easily bullied. They never dare to reveal it openly. Instead, they secretly express it in a corner. Some prominent figures, when facing the most challenging times in their careers, with no one to help or support them, might wait until all the soldiers, subordinates, and servants around them have withdrawn. Then they vent their emotions by howling like wolves in the bathtub. After shouting, they think about it. Did anyone hear that? Was I too unrestrained? I'd better tone it down a bit. But toning it down seems insufficient, so they cover their mouths with a towel and continue howling like wolves. Normal humanity requires the release and expression of various emotions. However, under the immense pressures of this society and the oppression of various public opinions, no one dares to express their emotions normally. Because starting from family teaching and conditioning, every individual has been instilled with certain erroneous beliefs, like a man should be self-reliant. To forge iron, one must be strong. One needn't worry about rumors if one is upright. And if you have a clear conscience, You need not fear ghosts knocking at your door. There is also, the nice person gets bullied, just as the gentle horse gets ridden, which conveys the message that one should avoid being an easy target, but should bully others instead. What does nice mean in the context of the nice person gets bullied, just as the gentle horse gets ridden? It means guileless, simple, loyal, kind, and upright. That is, it suggests that you should avoid being this type of person because such people are easy targets. So, what should you become instead? You should become a ruffian, a rogue, a scoundrel, a villain, an evil person, a hoodlum. Then no one will dare mess with you. Wherever you go, if reasoning doesn't work, you must act like a scoundrel and be able to make a scene, throw tantrums, be unreasonable, and create chaos. People thrive who behave in this way. In any workplace or social group, most people fear individuals like this, and no one dares to provoke them. They're like stinking dog excrement or annoying insects, and once you get them on you, it's hard to shake them off. You have to become this type of person. Don't let people think you're an easy target or easily provoked. There should be thorns all over your body. If you don't have any thorns, you won't be able to establish yourself in this society. There will always be someone to bully you. Family education serves as a guide for your life's path, as well as a specific teaching and installation of principles on how to comport yourself. That is, parents use these thoughts and sayings to educate you on how to comport yourself, behave, and deal with things. What kind of person do they tell you to be? On the surface, some parents may say things that sound good, like, "My child doesn't need to rise to prominence or become a celebrity. Being a good person is enough." However, they also tell their children phrases like, "One should never intend to do harm to others, but should always guard against the harm others might do to him. The nice person gets bullied, just as the gentle horse gets ridden. And a man should be self-reliant." So after so much talking, are they telling their children to be good people or something else?
They are encouraging them to be fierce, or at least capable of protecting themselves.
Tell me, are most parents willing to see their children bully others? Or would they rather see them be particularly upright and walk the right path, but frequently get bullied and be subject to some exclusion? Which type of person should the child become to make their parents the happiest, the proudest, and their faces glow most radiantly?
Parents feel proud when their children are able to bully others, but they consider it shameful if their children are often mistreated while walking the right path.
If you walk the right path but are frequently mistreated, your parents will feel sorrow, sadness, heartache, and won't be willing to let it happen. What lies at the root of this? Regardless of the reasons, every thought and viewpoint that parents teach their children about how to comport themselves and act is incorrect and runs contrary to the truth. In short, these thoughts and viewpoints parents instill in you will never lead you to the presence of God, nor will they guide you onto the path of pursuing the truth. Of course, people will never attain salvation under the guidance of such thoughts and viewpoints. This is an undeniable fact. So, no matter what your parents' intentions or motivations are, no matter what influence they have on you, if what you live out contradicts the truth, opposes the truth, and prevents you from submitting to God and the truth, then you should let go of it. Concerning the various thoughts from family conditioning that have constituted these last few fellowship sessions, although these thoughts are widely used and promoted among people, regardless of how widely accepted they are or how many people embrace them, and no matter how much people rely on them, considering the harm they bring to individuals, it is imperative for people to let go of these thoughts and viewpoints. They must re-examine or confront various matters corresponding to these thoughts and viewpoints, searching for the correct paths of practice and truth principles in God's words, and enter the truth realities under the premise of letting go of this thought conditioning, thereby gaining hope for salvation. Through these sessions of fellowship on the thoughts and viewpoints, and various specific sayings conditioned into you by family, I wonder to what extent you have recognized the various thoughts and viewpoints that exist deep within your souls. In short, no matter what, these fellowship sessions should serve as a wake-up call, providing people with a fresh understanding of the concept of family, as well as a brand new understanding and comprehension of the conditioning of family relatives, family thoughts, and family culture, giving them a brand new method of approach, as well as the ability to adopt the correct perspective and stance in how they approach their family. No matter the outward manner in which you approach your family, in short, regarding the erroneous thoughts and viewpoints about how to view people and things, comport oneself and act, with which your family influenced you, you should discern each of them, then let go of these thoughts one by one in order to embrace with a pure understanding the viewpoints and methods that God teaches people, and accept the various correct viewpoints and methods God imparts to people for how to view people and things, comport oneself, and act. This is what individuals genuinely pursuing the truth should do. One significant thought and viewpoint instilled into people by families is that they should be fierce and use various means to protect themselves. Considering how people protect their interests, flesh, and personal safety, after deriving means and methods for dealing with the world, from the conditioning of various thoughts and viewpoints, what is the primary purpose behind families instilling these thoughts? It is to protect individuals from being bullied. Now, let's examine the essence of being bullied. Is it a good thing to be bullied? Can it be avoided? Does anyone exist who has never been bullied? What does being bullied entail? Apart from hoping their children can integrate into society and establish themselves normally, parents also have a constant fear that their children will be bullied. Therefore, your parents often share certain hacks and means with you for dealing with the world, using these methods to protect you and prevent you from being bullied. Because your parents cannot accompany or protect you all the time, when you spread your wings and have to fly on your own, they arm you with certain thoughts and viewpoints to ensure that you're not bullied. Are these thoughts and viewpoints correct? Do you fear being bullied? Do you hold this thought and viewpoint? When I arrive in society and social groups, and especially when I interact with non-believers, I'm afraid that I'll be bullied. This is what concerns me most. If I encounter someone roughly equal to me, I can still stand up for myself. But if I encounter someone more fierce than I am, I won't dare to resist. I'll just accept whatever bullying comes my way. I can't do anything about it. They have backers and people behind the scenes, and I'll have to endure it. Is this the prevailing thought and viewpoint for most people?
I used to have such viewpoints. After putting my faith in God, I began to get along harmoniously with my brothers and sisters. When interacting with non-believers, even if faced with bullying and persecution, I know that this is permitted by God, and there is a lesson I need to learn. So I am less afraid and instead have learned to rely on God to experience it.
What type of person is particularly fearful?
Those who lack faith in God.
Apart from these individuals, there are also those who are especially timid, who are introverted and have low self-esteem, who are weak and feeble, who are physically less attractive or of a smaller stature, who come from impoverished backgrounds, especially those whose family backgrounds are mocked or discriminated against, who carry a low social status, lack skills or expertise, and work as manual laborers, and those with physical disabilities, among others. All of these people are more susceptible to being bullied and are afraid of it. Is bullying a prevalent issue in society? Wherever there are people, these things will happen there. How does bullying come about?
Because after humankind was corrupted by Satan, they became very evil, desiring to bully others while not being bullied themselves. So, these instances of oppression are everywhere.
This is one aspect. Some people don't want to be bullied by others, so they take the initiative, bullying others first and intimidating them so that no one dares to bully them. In fact, deep down, they don't want to comport themselves like this. It's tiring for them too. When you knock everyone else down, aren't you tired as well? There's a saying, kill 1,000 enemies, lose 800 of your own. Take a hedgehog, for example. After it shoots out its quills, isn't its nervous system exhausted? It hurts people when it pokes them, and it's tired too. So, why do it if it's so tiring? It's for self-preservation. The hedgehog has to put in some effort to protect itself. Because this evil world lacks any positive or accurate principles for treating various people, and people are classified based on Satan's philosophy for worldly dealings and the social hierarchy. Divergence and hierarchies arise among people based on these principles and criteria of unequal division. When this happens, people can't interact fairly and harmoniously. They compete to be in the upper echelons, to be the best of the best. Those at the top can lord over others and bully and control them at will. Because this society is unfair, the principles for treating people are unfair. Thus, interactions between people will certainly not be harmonious, and the principles, methods, and means for people to interact with each other all become unfair. This unfairness specifically speaks to people comparing power, family background, skills, abilities, physical appearance, height, as well as tactics, schemes, and strategies. Where do all these things come from? they don't come from the truth or from God. They come from Satan. These things from Satan become instilled in people, and they live by them. So how do you think people will interact with each other? Will they treat everyone fairly? Absolutely not. Can even the simplest principle of election in God's house function in the evil world dominated by Satan?
It can't.
What's the essence of why it doesn't work? It's that this evil world isn't ruled by the truth. It's governed by evil trends, as well as Satan's various thoughts and its philosophies. So, it can only be that people bully and control one another. This is the only possible state of affairs. It's impossible to avoid bullying. It's quite normal. Because the world isn't under the rule of the truth. In this evil world, when people interact with each other, if you're not someone who bullies others, then you're the one who gets bullied. Your role can only consist of these two things. In reality, every person both bullies others and gets bullied. This is because there are always people above and below you. You bully others because you have a higher status than they do, but at the same time, while you're bullying them, there are people with even higher status and standing than you, and they'll bully you, and you'll have to endure their bullying. One class of people bullies another class. This is the relationship between people, that of bullying and being bullied. It is the only relationship. There is no genuine familial affection, no love, no tolerance, no patience, and no possibility of treating every person justly and fairly according to principles. Because this world is not ruled by the truth, but by Satan, the relationships that form between people can only be those of bullying and being bullied, of using and being used. This is inevitable, and no one can escape it. You may say you are a boss in the underworld and have many henchmen and lackeys, all of whom you bully and control. But even an underworld boss has superiors, and there's also the government. While it's said that officials and bandits are one family, sometimes the government intentionally looks for trouble, gets leverage, and won't let you off the hook. You'll have to pay a sum to the police station and cozy up to them. You see, even though an underworld boss seems grand, when they go to the police station, they still have to bow and scrape. They dare not be arrogant. As the sayings of non-believers go, while the priest climbs a post, the devil climbs 10. And there's always a bigger fish. This means that every person bullies others and is bullied, and this is the essence and phenomenon of bullying. Concerning the matter of bullying, since it's something that nobody can avoid, how should a person handle it? In the church, even though you might not fear being bullied, does this kind of thing exist? Can it happen? When you interact with non-believers, you may be bullied by them. So, does this not occur within the church? It does, to varying degrees, because all people are corrupted by Satan. Before people attain salvation, they often reveal corruption. And one aspect of those revelations of corruption is treating others according to their own will, not dealing with them fairly. When this unfair treatment of others arises, bullying and being bullied also occur. So these things do happen occasionally, and people can't escape or avoid them. What's the correct principle for handling and dealing with this matter?
According to God's words, according to principles.
In theory, that's how it's said. What about the specific way to practice it? How do you understand the matter of bullying and being bullied? For example, say that you write a letter to report problems with a false leader, and the false leader wants to bully you, saying, "If you don't behave yourself, if you continue reporting my problems to the higher-ups, snitching on me, or writing something negative in my evaluations, I'll kill you. I have the power to expel you. Aren't you afraid?" How would you handle this situation? They're threatening you. To put it specifically, they're bullying you. They have the power, and you're an ordinary believer, so they arbitrarily torment you without any principles or baseline. They treat you the way Satan treats people. To put this in concrete terms, aren't they bullying you? Aren't they trying to torment you? So how would you handle this? Would you compromise or stand by the principles? In theory, people should stand by the principles and not be afraid of this false leader. What's the basis for this? Why shouldn't you be afraid of them? If they really expel you, will you be frightened? Because they really can expel you, you might not dare to stand by the principles, and you might be scared. Where does this matter get stuck? How can you be scared?
Because I don't believe that the house of God is under the rule of the truth.
That's one aspect of it. You need to have this faith and say, "You're an evil person." Don't think that just because you're a leader now, you have the power to expel me. Expelling me would be wrong. This matter will be exposed sooner or later. The house of God is not under your sole authority. If you expel me today, you'll be punished eventually. If you don't believe it, just wait and see. The house of God is ruled by the truth, by God. People can't punish you, but God can reveal you and eliminate you. When your wrongdoings are exposed, that's when you'll face your punishment. Do you have this faith?
Yes.
You do? Then why can't you say this? It seems like you'll be in danger if you encounter such situations. You lack courage and genuine faith. When you really face these matters, when you encounter evil people and antichrists, who are this fierce, whose methods of tormenting people are comparable to those of the great red dragon, what will you do then? You'll start crying, saying, "Oh, I'm small in stature. I'm timid. I've always been afraid of trouble. I'm even afraid of a falling leaf hitting my head. I really hope that I don't have to face such people. What would I do if they bullied me?" Are they bullying you? They're not bullying you. That's Satan tormenting you. Looking at it from a human perspective, you would say, this person is formidable, has status, and bullies guileless people with no status. Is that what's happening? From the standpoint of the truth, that's not bullying. It's Satan making people suffer, tormenting them, fooling them, corrupting them, and trampling on them. How should you deal with and handle these actions from Satan? Should you be afraid? In your heart, you shouldn't be afraid of them. If reporting their issues and contending against them isn't appropriate at the moment, you should temporarily endure them and find a suitable time to report them later. If there are discerning individuals like you among your brothers and sisters, you should unite to report and expose their evil deeds. If no one else has discernment, and when you step forward to report them, everyone rejects you, exercise patience for the time being. When the higher-level leaders come to your church to check and follow up on the work, find an appropriate time to report their issues to those leaders, clearly stating their evil deeds in full detail and letting the leaders remove them. Is this wise? In one respect, you must have faith and not fear evil people, antichrists, or Satan. In another, you shouldn't see their actions toward you as one person bullying another. You should see the essence of this as Satan fooling, tormenting, and trampling over people. Then, depending on the situation, you should exercise wisdom to deal with their tormenting. Find the right time to expose and report them, and safeguard the interests of the house of God and the church's work. This is the testimony in which you should stand firm, and the duty and obligation you should fulfill as a person. No matter how they bully you or treat you unfairly, don't see it as bullying. It's not them bullying you. It's Satan fooling, trampling over, and tormenting people. Would you say that the great red dragon is bullying you when it persecutes believers in God? It's not bullying you. Why does it persecute you? Its essence is to resist God. It regards God as an enemy and sees all of God's work as a nail in its eye and a thorn in its side. It also regards the people selected by God as enemies. If you follow God, it will hate you, just as it says in the Bible, "If the world hates you, you know that it hated me before it hated you." The great red dragon hates people, hates God, regards God as an enemy, and even more so regards those who follow God, especially the ones who practice the truth, as enemies. That's why it wants to persecute you, to kill you, to prevent you from following God, to make you worship and follow it, and to make you curse God. You might say, "I won't curse him." Then it will threaten you. If you don't curse God, you will die. It will try to compel you to say, "The Communist Party is good." And you will respond, "I won't say that." Then it will say, "If you don't say it, I will give you a hard time. I'll treat you and answer you with cruel torture." Is that bullying you? No, that's Satan abusing people. Do you understand? You must have the correct understanding when dealing with the matter of bullying. In society and among groups of people, if you look at it from a human perspective, every person takes on roles of both being a bully and being bullied. But if you look at it from the perspective of the truth, you shouldn't see it this way. The essence of the behavior of any person who wants to bully you and control you is not considered bullying. Rather, it's Satan's fooling, abuse, manipulations, trampling, and corruption. To be specific, It means they are not treating you according to rational and humane methods. They are not treating you fairly, but rather, they are adopting Satan's perspective and stance and using Satan's thoughts as their guide in how they treat you, talk to you, and interact with you. For instance, suppose you and an evil person share a room. You arrive first, so you should pick a suitable location first, and you choose the lower bunk. As soon as they arrive and see this, they say, "Was it right for you to choose the lower bunk? I haven't even chosen yet. Is it your turn? You dare to sleep on the lower bunk in spite of me? The audacity! You didn't even discuss it with me and just went ahead and chose the lower bunk to sleep. Get on the top bunk." You respond, "Why shouldn't you sleep on the top bunk? You arrived after me. According to that order, you should sleep on the top bunk." They say, "Order? I've never followed any order. I don't line up anywhere. I wouldn't even line up to meet the president. Did you even bother to find out who I am? You dare to talk to me about lining up? The audacity! You want to die? Get on the top bunk." So, you have to obediently go up to sleep on the top bunk. Is this bullying you? From a human perspective, this appears to be bullying. They see you as guileless, as someone they can manipulate. They give you an intimidating show of power first and teach you a lesson to make you understand who they are. This is looking at it from a human perspective, or from the perspective of human feelings or flesh. But if you view this from the perspective of the truth, can you see it the same way? You picked the lower bunk first. Everything was in order, but they insisted that you move, bothering you to switch to the top bunk. Isn't this unreasonable? Isn't this them tormenting you? Aren't they not treating you like a human? Aren't they being disrespectful to you? Aren't they acting like they're the boss and treating you as a servant or a slave? What's the logic of their thoughts? Every person who isn't as formidable as they are is their servant, someone they can command, someone they can torment. From the perspective of the truth, this cannot be called bullying. It's about tormenting people. Who is able to torment people? Evil people, demons, thugs, hooligans, scoundrels, people who are unreasonable, lack humanity, and have no respect for anyone. They don't follow rules anywhere they go. They act like they're the boss, like anything good, advantageous, or beneficial belongs only to them. Others are not allowed to have any share in such things or even think about taking them. Isn't this a scoundrel? This is what scoundrels and demons do. They are tormenting you like this. So wouldn't you feel afraid? You would think, "Oh goodness, so there are people this formidable after all. They even think it's wrong for me to sleep on the bottom bunk. What's going on?" You would get frightened. And from then on, when you talk to them, you'd have to be selective. You'd have to ponder on it, thinking, "I can't upset them, and I can't provoke them. If I provoke them, they'll give me a hard time." If you have this kind of mindset, then they've achieved their goal. What's their goal? They want to scare you, make you fear them, create a hierarchical difference between you and them, where they're the boss and you're the servant, and wherever you go, you have to listen to them and yield to them. Isn't this the principle of how Satan does things? They have to be your boss, and you have to be their servant. You have to be arbitrarily disciplined, bossed around, and toyed with by them. You must yield to them in everything. You can't stand as equals with them. If you want to be equal to them, the only situation where you can will be when they're dead. You only deserve to be equals with a dead person. Tell me, to what extent have you been bullied by them? Deep down in your heart, have their evil deeds and imposing manner frightened you? You've accepted this fact. You've compromised. So can we say that as a consequence, you've been corrupted by them? They have you firmly in their grip. When they do evil things and violate principles, you won't dare to speak up, because back then, they sent you from the lower bunk to the top bunk with a single kick. You won't dare provoke them again. When you see them, you'll walk around them, and the mere mention of them will make you break out in a cold sweat. Isn't this being frightened by them? You do not dare to treat them fairly according to principles. They have you firmly in their grip. What's the essence of them having you firmly in their grip? It means they possess you and control you. Isn't that the case? So, how should people approach this situation to avoid being controlled by them? You should regard the matter of evil individuals bullying people as a phenomenon of Satan corrupting and abusing people. After you have seen through to this essence, how should you approach it? Deep in your heart, you should abhor and reject the evil individuals, not fear them. You should think, "Oh, you want me to sleep on the top bunk? Fine, I'll sleep on the top bunk." But today, I've seen another evil person's actions. I've recognized the essence of one more evil person, and from now on, I'll be able to discern one more kind of behavior that evil people engage in during their daily lives and behind people's backs. Starting today, I'll closely watch what they say and do, and whether they engage in deception. If God's house uses them, I'll see whether they act according to principles, whether they uphold the interests of God's house, whether they squander offerings, and whether they still torment others. Deep within your heart, you should pray, "God, please expose this evil person. Enable me to discern their evil deeds and their essence. Help me gather evidence of their evil deeds, and grant me courage. Enable me to not fear evil people, to have faith and strength to fight against them." Although you'll still share the same room with them, and nothing will have changed on the surface, deep within your heart, you won't fear them, because everything they do to you isn't bullying. It's a revelation and exposure of their satanic nature. When you view them like this, will you still be afraid of them? With every evil deed they reveal and every absurd word they utter, you will curse them in your heart, saying, "You are a devil, you are Satan, you do evil and resist God, and sooner or later, you will be cursed. God will not let you escape. You will eventually be exposed. This is how you should deal with evil people. You must have the faith and strength to fight with them, and you must pray to God. Then your heart will have strength, and you won't fear them. How about this? Aren't these tactics effective? When you discern them like this from the standpoint of the truth, isn't it more practical than what your parents taught you? One should never intend to do harm to others, but should always guard against the harm others might do to him. What's the use of guarding? You can't guard against Satan abusing and corrupting you. Satan corrupting and abusing you are not things that can be guarded against. They're everywhere. Satan's corruption of people isn't just on the surface. It isn't just external. It also corrupts you and your thoughts. Can you guard against that? The most important thing is for you to equip yourself with the truth and rely on God. Not only should you discern the actions of evil people, but also the essence of evil people. And at the same time, you should discern the various thoughts and viewpoints expressed by evil people. Then equip yourself with the truth, using God's words and the truth to expose and dissect them, so that your brothers and sisters can also gain discernment. Then everyone can rise up to reject them together. How wonderful is that? If you're always on the defense, always on guard, always refusing or avoiding, that's being a coward. That's not the manifestation of an overcomer. Having fellowshipped about all of this, do you now have a new view of the matter of people being bullied? Is bullying right? What is the nature of bullying? In essence, it's evil people and Satan tormenting others and fooling them. Now, what's the nature of being bullied?
It's being weak, not practicing the truth, not daring to rise up and resist.
That's right. Fearing evil people, fearing evil forces, lacking the faith to fight with Satan, lacking the faith to recognize, discern, and see through the ugly face of Satan, and lacking the faith to resist Satan's trampling and abuse of you. Isn't this the nature of it? Those without faith always have a knot in their hearts. They're always afraid, thinking, I mustn't be bullied by others. I don't bully others, and I mustn't be bullied by others. Just like my mom said, one should never intend to do harm to others, but should always guard against the harm others might do to him. They pray to God saying, Oh God, please don't let me encounter evil people. I'm timid. I've always been guileless and simple. I believe in you and follow you. You must protect me. This is being spineless. You've heard so many truths, and you understand so many truths. You're not afraid of the devils and Satan. So are you afraid of an evil person? Are you afraid of the great red dragon?
If caught, I'll be afraid, but I can pray to God and rely on Him.
That means you haven't been frightened by its evil. This is also a manifestation that only comes with a certain foundation of faith. Some people say, You say I'm afraid of the great red dragon. If I were afraid of the great red dragon, could I have come this far? Isn't that a fact? But if you ask me to say that I'm not afraid of the great red dragon, I still feel a little afraid to do so. What if the great red dragon hears about it? There's still some fear there. Such people are a bit afraid to publicly say that the great red dragon is wicked and cruel. They lack that faith, and their stature is still too small. I'm not asking you to openly contend with the great red dragon or to provoke it. But deep in your heart, at the very least, you should know that the great red dragon, this demon, treats people with abuse, corruption, fooling, trampling, and then devours them. This isn't bullying. It's not as if it bullies and torments believers, because they are guileless, rule-following, and law-abiding. That's nonsense. It's a statement that lacks spiritual understanding. The great red dragon is abusing you. How does it abuse you? It threatens, intimidates, persecutes, and tortures you. What's the purpose of it abusing you? To make you give up your faith, to make you deny God, to abandon God, then to compromise with it, and ultimately, to make you worship it, follow it, be subjugated by it, accept its various thoughts, and kneel in worship before it. It delights in this. This is its purpose for persecuting you. Because it sees that you follow God and not it, it becomes jealous, and it won't let you go. Of course, if you don't follow God, will it let you go?
No, it also abuses those who don't believe in God.
That's right. In colloquial terms, that's just the kind of thing it is. More accurately, this is its nature essence. Even those who follow it, those who sing its praises, are still abused, fooled, and trampled upon by it. And after using them, it throws them away, even killing some of them to shut their mouths, ultimately devouring them completely. In any case, it does not end well for them. No matter what, people should see clearly that the ultimate purpose of families conditioning and instilling various thoughts and viewpoints into people is not really to protect them or lead them onto the right path. Instead, it's to steer people away from God, to make them live by Satan's philosophies, and to make people repeatedly and cyclically accept the trampling of various thoughts and the conditioning of various evil trends that come from society and Satan. Regardless of the initial intentions or purposes behind families doing this, in the end, this cannot guide people onto the right path or lead them to enter into the truth reality and ultimately attain salvation. Therefore, the various thoughts and viewpoints that come from families are something people must let go of, something that they should let go of in the process of, and on the path of pursuing the truth. Well, let's conclude our fellowship here for today. Goodbye.